Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. My name is Arni Ekholm. I'm the CEO of Relais Group, and I'm delighted to be able to present our company in this Nordic Companies Night today. The brief contents of my presentation, I'll talk about what do we do, what is Relais as an animal, so to say, what is the vehicle aftermarket opportunity from an investor point of view, then a few slides of sustainability, and at the end, a summary of Relais as an investment. So, Relais in brief, it's a busy slide. We explain why. This is the results of the first 3 quarters. The net sales was 203 million, where the growth is 10% versus last year. The red letter text here refers to the effect of the exchange rate, as over half of our business is coming from the Swedish market, and we all know what the Swedish krona versus euro development has been during this year. So if we would use a comparable exchange rate valid in 22, the growth would have been 15%. So I think it gives a picture of the organic and partially also the acquired growth. Looking at the EBITDA, the same thing applies. The growth in a comparable exchange rate is higher, i.e. 31%, and the nominal growth is 23%. Right, and then if we look at the structure of Relais as a company, we divide the business into 2 major groups. Firstly, the technical wholesale and products group, which is like 2/3 of the total business. And then we have a relatively newly established business unit, commercial vehicle repair and maintenance, which is roughly 1/3 of the business. So all in all, we have about 20 different companies around the Nordic and Baltic markets, over 1,000 professionals in these 6 countries. And also worthwhile mentioning that roughly 75 to 80% of our business is directly related to commercial vehicles. If we look at the geographies and the split of the sales between Finland and Baltics and then the Scandinavian markets, as I mentioned, Sweden is the major market, and Sweden together with Denmark and Norway stand for 54% during the first 9 months, and Finland and Baltics is the rest. If you look at the journey that we have gone through during the last 10 years, you will notice that the sales has almost doubled during that time. We have made over, let's say, 10 acquisitions during the last 4 years. So it's been a really rapid growth, but still a very profitable growth all the time. And we have been following our strategy coherently to get there where we are. And we aim to continue, of course, actively in making acquisitions also in the future. Looking at the aftermarket, this is the core market for us. We are focused solely on this sector. The aftermarket comprises of different sectors in the value chain. So we are not involved at all in manufacturing of vehicles or import of vehicles or resales of vehicles. So we focus on the sector where we see there's the best potential to create value for the shareholders. So the different parts of the value chain, this is the sweet spot where we are active at the moment and operating, and also looking at acquisition targets within equipping and customizing and import and wholesale, maintenance, repair and related services. So this is what we call the vehicle life cycle enhancement, and I will also get back to that concept a little bit later. It's important to take good care of your vehicle, whatever the vehicle is. And on the left hand, on the axis, you can see different types of vehicles, all from construction machines to 2-wheelers and 4-wheelers and commercial vehicles. So it's a huge market everywhere, and specifically in the Nordic region. Looking at our growth strategy, it's very simple. The good strategy is always very simple. So I can just put it in 3 different areas. Growth by acquisitions, and this is in no particular order of importance. They are all equally important and support each other. So growth by acquisitions, we are what we call a smart compounder. We focus on the Nordic vehicle aftermarket sector. We also focus a lot on operational excellence. I mean, let's look at net working capital, or the way we lead by using data, and how we develop the companies that we acquire. It's very important. Organic growth, we aim to grow faster than the market in average. That is supported by the synergies between the companies. Since we have this aftermarket sector focus, it's much more probable to find synergies between the companies than if we were so-called agnostic in what type of companies we acquire. Buy and build, you could also describe our strategy with this classical buy and build theme. Investing right, building great companies, and then smart compounding and, let's say, value creation by putting together bigger entities. We spend a lot of time and energy and focus on investing right because we are very selective. We want to find the best companies with a healthy core, good management, stable profitability. It's not always easy, but it pays off in the long run if you are a little bit picky, because we do not have time or resources to take care of problem or distressed companies, because that will slow down the speed of the whole group. The sector focus guarantees basically our ability to find the best companies, and we understand the business. We know a lot of people and know a lot of companies, so that's a good combination for us. And we are very disciplined when it comes to valuation of the companies. From, let's say, from an earnings growth point of view, it's very important to get these kind of fillers instead of drainers in the company. Then even more importantly, what do we do with the companies once we acquire them? I mean, we have basically a perpetual ownership perspective. We do not buy companies to sell them after a few years. So we really have a long-term commitment to these companies, and usually the entrepreneurs or people who sell the company want to stay on board and to share the value creation potential as a member in a bigger group. And then increase focus on execution and strategy. We all in the executive management team participate actively in the board work for this group company. So we make sure that the strategy is followed, and then we can also bring something to the party and support the companies, the two-way street. And the sector focus when it comes to smart compounding. We know this business, as I said, we see bigger potential in adding value since we focus in one sector, which is broad enough from de-risking point of view. It's not only about compounding capital, it's also compounding of competence. Learning by each other is really, we can prove it works and actually increases the profitability. Our official target might be interesting for you to hear as well, is to reach a 50 million comparable pro forma EBITDA by the end of 2025 on a run rate basis. So that is basically doubling the EBITDA from 2022. Then a few words about the vehicle aftermarket. There's a lot happening there. I won't go through all the details, but it's a big market. 19 million vehicles in the Nordic and Baltic roads, everything from construction to passenger cars and commercial vehicles, which is our bread and butter, the commercial vehicles. It is defensive and it's less cyclical than many other markets. And also from our point of view as a compounder, there are a lot of opportunities for further acquisition and consolidation that we are driving. Technology disruption, we could talk hours about what's happening on technology, but we don't have the time for it. From our perspective, the alternative drivelines, electrification, it increases the value of the category. So it kind of the spare parts get more complicated and more valuable, even if there are less movable parts. The EVs still require a lot of maintenance repair in their life cycle. We are looking at sustainability aspects, how to get remanufactured parts and recycled parts. There will be new ownership models, fleets, private leasing, opening new opportunities. Advanced driver systems, assistance systems, a need for sensors and cameras. And then also alternative fuels open up interesting business possibilities for the heavy commercial vehicle sector, whether it be then transformation from diesel to biofuel or electrical or hydrogen. And then further, the value creation potential for the market. There has been, as we all know, delays and sinking amounts of new vehicles sold in many European markets, which will then contribute to the need to use the existing fleets for longer, which then drives the need to take care of them, to repair and maintain them, which is interesting from a business perspective. The e-commerce is growing, so last mile deliveries, there will be need for power management and lighting for light commercial vehicles. We have good opportunities to extend our product range in different countries based on this technological transformation. And also personal and urban mobility is projected to grow, opening also up different business possibilities. Sustainability, this is the first year, 24, when we are obliged to make the CSRD report, and we are currently focusing and looking at the different topics and targets that we will set for ourselves for year 24 to be reported in 25. We have split them into two groups. How can we at Relais Group make an impact through our business? And also how can we make an impact through our sustainable practices? And looking at what from a business perspective, taking good care of your vehicle is actually a good environmental deed, because you take care of the life cycle of the vehicle and not having to produce a new vehicle. We will support and enable climate-friendly choices for our customers by being able to maintain and repair EV vehicles. As a one example, then we will also focus on trying to get more recycled and remanufactured parts into the product range. Something then that is in between those two is to improve the road safety and occupational health and safety of our customers and generally the market with our lighting products. And then employee well-being, looking at sustainable energy choices for our premises, and also looking at the procurement practices, because most of our CO2 emissions come from the supply chain, actually. I just want to mention here before the final summary that we are proud to be a founding member of what is called FAAS, Forum on Automotive Aftermarket Sustainability. It's an initiative by the FIGIEFA branch interest group in Europe, and we are members and also participating in different work groups focusing on let's say measuring the CO2 emissions, looking at remanufactured parts and optimizing the supply chain. So we take this very seriously and take our part in building a, let's say, more sustainable world. Then Relais as an investment, summarizing what I explained. We are a sector-focused consolidator, a compounder with a long ownership perspective. We have a long track record of making successful acquisitions and developing our companies. We have a solid cash flow and profitability track record historically. The aftermarket is growing. It's a defensive market. It has less cyclicality. We have a very interesting growth opportunity with our own lighting and equipment products with own brands, which is over 20% of the total sales. And we have a lean, efficient operating model, which has relatively small overhead cost in the group companies. Then finally, a few words about outlook for this year. Okay, we are already in December. This is more looking at what we communicated after the Q3 results. Let's say it's much related to the external macroeconomic market demand factors, inflation, interest rates, purchase power of the consumers and our customers, unemployment, layoffs. This is basically what would apply for next year, beginning of next year as well. The Swedish krona versus euro exchange rate will have an effect. On the other hand, as I said, vehicle aftermarket is defensive and less cyclical. And we feel that we are well prepared to carry out our strategy and to reach our goals that we have set upon ourselves. So with these words, I thank you for your patience and concentration on following the presentation.
Thanks, Arni, for a great presentation.
Thank you, Verneri.
We have some interesting questions here, and I still remind the audience that you can ask more, as much as you want. But firstly, why should companies join Relais family in the first place?
We are experts in our field of operation, and we have a good culture where we foster the companies that we acquire. We give them a lot of autonomy, but of course also accountability. So we do not have this one size fits all. We coordinate things, we of course manage things, so we gather data, but we give a lot of freedom. And also the possibility of using our share as means of payment makes the people who sell their company shareholders in Relais Group. Not necessarily always, but we always give that possibility, which is from an alignment point of view very good, because then we all have skin in the game, and you don't have to sell your baby, so to speak, but you can kind of keep it, but to bring the ownership on a new level.
Exactly. How would you describe your M&A process?
It's fairly dynamic, I would say. I mean, we spend a lot of time in analyzing. We scan a lot of companies all the time. We have our own people who are focusing on that, and then we take some help from advisors every now and then. We engage in a very early stage. We talk with the entrepreneurs. We like the kind of processes we can talk directly with the owners. Sometimes there are structured processes as well. But I would say it's fairly uncomplicated. We do a thorough analysis. We look at the valuation from different aspects. We have a methodology that we use. But at the end of the day, it's all about people. I mean, Excel doesn't sell or buy the company. It's the personal touch that you add into the negotiations.
We have one question from sijoittaja. How scalable is your model? I think he or she refers to your M&A process, that you have an M&A team. How scalable is that when you get bigger and bigger over time?
Yeah, it is scalable. I mean, as I said, the process is not that complicated, to be honest. So, I mean, if we feel that we are somehow lacking analysis power, we either buy it externally or recruit more people. So I'm not seeing that as a kind of a bottleneck. And from the business point of view, by having these add-on acquisitions already, we can prove that the model is really working. We learn from each other. Looking at our repair and maintenance business, we have almost doubled the profitability of the companies that we bought by improving the kind of level of operations in both companies.
Have higher interest rates changed your view about use of leverage?
We are more, of course, focused. We have always been focused on the right timed financing of the company and how we evaluate the companies we buy. So I would say that the increased interest rates, of course, are then mirrored in the way we value the companies that we acquire. It's a part of the equation when we look at the return on capital employed and so forth. But other than that, not really.
Reflecting more about capital employed, in retrospect, how do you feel about the acquisitions made during the zero interest rate environment? How would you reflect those?
The zero interest rate environment was not a driver in any of those acquisitions. So none of those acquisitions were made with let's say, the focus on or the prediction of the zero interest rates in the future. So we build enough flexibility in the DCF models and so forth. So I mean, it's not endangered by that. There would be a temptation to do that, of course, but I think we have been, as I said, very disciplined in the way we operate.
What needs to happen in order for you to reach the 50 million euro profit target in 2025?
Yeah, it's fairly simple. I mean, it's not simple to do. It's a combination of organic growth and acquired growth. So we have a roadmap how we intend to reach that. There is a group of potential targets that we have in the pipeline, and then by modeling of what's going to come from the organic part, how is the, let's say, market growing, how is our efficiency gains playing into the equation, and what type of EBITDA will we be able to acquire. So we have a very clear picture of how to reach it.
Thanks, Arni, for interesting answer and for
My
the
pleasure.
presentation.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Thank you very much.
The next company presenting will be Aspo. The stage is yours.